All right, you guys, good to see everybody here tonight. The official Village of El Portal Budget Workshop for fiscal year 2023 is called to order at 7 o'clock p.m. We're going to do the moment of silent meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. May I please have roll call?
Roll call, Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Earbaum's coming in late. Councilperson Perella.
Here.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Martin.
Present.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Cristia Lu, Village Manager, and CFO Tavofo.
Thank you very much. We have one agenda item, which is the budget workshop, the proposed budget. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none, moving on, good and welfare. Usually our first good and welfare is for individuals who want to speak about what's still on the agenda item, but I know there are individuals here who want to come up and speak about a different subject. This is that time to do so. I'm giving that special time to come up. Come to the microphone, say your name and address for the record, and the floor is yours as far as whatever subject you want to talk about. Thank you.
Hi, Village. Hello, I'm Thomas Pulliam. I live at 205 Northeast 86th Street. My partner and I moved here from Los Angeles, California, December of last year. Very happy to be part of this community, first-time homeowners. Really excited about that. Also planning to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars in remodeling our property. And that's been in process for a little bit, but super excited to, have all that going. I have a couple points I'd like to bring up. First of all, I noticed when reviewing our village's charter, Section 7.05, it mentions the count every decade. As of March 2012, the village will be revising the charter and will have a commission of not less than 7 village residents every 10 years. And I just have a general inquiry about what the status of that is, if that's ongoing for this year, what's happening there.
Yeah, let me jump in there. So we did a charter review about a decade ago, and nothing ended up being changed, but we were talking about recently for this fiscal year that we were looking to start the process again.
And when is that happening?
Yeah, that's gonna be taking place. We're gonna be starting to talk about that toward more of the middle of the year, like more about around springtime. We'll start to kind of dive into that a little bit more.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yeah.
Mayor, if I may. We actually just did finish the review for building permits and all of that. That was, outdated since 1984. So we actually worked. It was a lengthy process. So we finished with that, and that's what we actually were doing this past year.
Yeah.
So we started with building department permits and all of that, those fees and all of that. So.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councilperson Perella. But I think he's more focusing on the charter itself. Like, remember that time we were speaking about the vice mayor position or the term limits and things like that. Like, he's talking about all those type of things in the charter, which brings on the residents as far as being part of it, and that's what he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was last done when, and when is it coming up?
It will be coming up later this year. As far as looking into it, we have to understand that the whole charter review process, it's it costs, and it has to do whatever comes out of that. We have to make sure it coincides with whatever elections are coming up and things like that. It has to be because all that stuff has to go on for to be part of the charter. It has to go through the ordinances, through the process to where you all as residents will be voting on the different changes in the charter if those things are going to be changed. But to make a long answer short, we will be going into that and looking into that as we get into more of the springtime months in 2023.
So, but that's not within 10 years.
Last time it was done, it was approximately about 10 years ago. All right.
The charter says March 2012. I just also have is
Yeah.
our village attorney here for a legal question?
No, he's not here.
Okay.
Yep. So it was done then. Nothing was changed on it then. I understand what you're saying. It is 2022. We started the discussion with that, as Councilperson Perella just told you. We already started speaking about, or we already started reviewing and updating things that were that are in our charter and in our code and things like that. But as far as what you're speaking of, which I know what you're speaking of the full panel.
Yeah, section
charter.
7.05.
You're speaking
charter
of the
revision.
full panel charter revision review.
Yes, with
And
7 village residents.
Yes, and that right there, we're going to be looking into doing coming into the springtime.
Okay. That's something I would like to be involved with. And still not, I'll follow up with the village attorney, but it's still unclear to me if that's within the 10-year stipulation.
We'll be looking into that
Thank
into the
you for
spring.
that.
No problem, Mr. President.
Also, I want to address, since I've been here, since we moved here in December, obviously we are being taxed at current market value rates, which is the highest the village has ever seen. Because of that, we are particularly interested in how our funds are being spent. That's also why we're here today at the budget workshop meeting. And there's also, it's interesting quite the disparity between the different tax rates as well, different members being capped and whatnot. So I'm very interested to see what the total increase in funds going up into the village's accounts are, and also how that will be allocated.
Are you referring to the different residents that are, like, some are homesteaded, like the different rates, like
They're capped 3%, yeah,
Okay.
after you homestead.
after you homestead?
Yeah,
Yep.
the cap, yeah. And the last thing I'd like to bring up is, since we've been here since December, I've had to file 2 police reports. Both reports I've had to get corrected. They haven't been done accurately. Never experienced this before in any place I've ever lived. Doesn't make me feel safe, doesn't make me feel protected. I'm also having to follow up multiple times with the police in order to, get the reporting accurate, which is really disconcerting for me. Also, in terms of enforcement, I did a public records request from January to end of July for violations, citations, all that stuff. The village only recorded 12 violations with a total citations of $200, which by my math is not paying for code enforcement or for a lot of the staff that we have here. I really feel like the manager's abdicating their supervision, and that really frustrates me considering they're not an elected official. And so I also have a question of when do reviews come up for unelected staff of the village? And
So-
how does that work?
So you're talking about for the public request you were referring to with the citations, that's code enforcement citations you're referring to?
I also got police citations, yes, and I received 12 from January 1st, 2012 to this July 31st, 2022.
You got 12 total for police and code enforcement together?
Yes, with total citations valuing $200.
Okay, I'm gonna look into that.
That's very disconcerting for me, again, as a new resident here who's paying the highest taxes ever in the village and not being supported by my local police who I'm paying for, who are right up the street here. And, not getting support from the local government, the manager, code enforcement, etc. I know code enforcement's been replaced. Part of that's been because of me. The previous code enforcer, Carlos, showed up smelling of alcohol multiple times to our house when we called them for different code violations and whatnot. Also, a lot of the code violations I reported were not actually on the public records request. So it's like, if I'm calling code enforcement or the police, is it going anywhere? Because it doesn't look like it. On top of that, you might have heard that, at the Citadel recently, last Thursday, there was a person who was killed on a bicycle by someone on a car. And I know that we've had lots of issues with speeding and other things here as well. And again, my question is, where's police? Where's enforcement? We have all these ordinances that we're paying for and can't get nothing done. It's really frustrating.
All right, so as far as the speeding goes, we have, we just got speed laser guns, and those are going to start being enforced very, very soon. As a matter of fact, the police officers were already doing enforcement on North Miami Avenue, I believe, previously, and on Northeast 2nd previously, which are the two highways besides 87th Street where we have the most speeding. So they started doing that. There's some police officers, and you guys may remember when we had the Public Safety Committee meeting, that there's some police officers that have to be trained first in those laser guns, because if they go out and they give tickets, certain police officers who have not gone through the updated training of the laser guns, just to be able to get that certificate, if they don't get that certificate, then their tickets will get thrown out in court because they have to show the certification through certificates. But the speeding thing is already done. As far as what you're talking about, where the police were writing the reports and your reports were not done correctly or were not accurate, I want to say, I don't know anything about that, but I want to say I apologize for that if they were not done accurately. Madam Manager, she knows that certification and training are my top tier things. As a matter of fact, they're so top tier that I've added more money to the budget for that, for our police department, for all the training and certification that they need, because I want our officers to be the most trained and certified officers possible. As far as what you're talking about, you getting the response from that being taken care of when it comes to your reports. One report was about, which was unfortunate, which you guys have heard me talk about, Bobby's Law. And I gave you guys that last time at the end of that last meeting and said we're going to be bringing that up. You guys start to look at that and see what questions and comments you had about that. That was last time. That's coming up, and that unfortunately, and it was sad to hear and see what happened to your cat Bobby.
I was also bitten.
Yeah, and he was also bitten by a dog who attacked and killed Bobby. But that right there is being dealt with. So I don't want you to think that, you're up here and you're saying that, people are ignoring you or not sensitive about the things that mean the most to you, because I am. I just want you to know that I am. And I'm doing something about it.
And I do really feel like you are. My complaint is about not you.
Yeah,
it's about other members of the village, including code enforcement, police, management, other stuff.
Yeah, as far as code enforcement, the individual is not here. Right, and like you said, you feel like that was a big part of it. So
the last 7 months, I've been paying tax dollars for someone who is not efficient.
I hear you, but I mean, what we can do is, we can fix problems that are here, right? We correct those problems and we try to look forward with those problems being corrected. So I just want to say that, I'm doing what I can. I'll continue to do everything I can to help you out with everything that you need. And so it's a process, but it's not going to be, I'm not saying like it's a process like nothing can be done about it right now. I'm putting things in place, and we're all putting things in place, and I'm changing things around, and we're changing the culture, and we're changing the way things used to be in the past. So I just want you to know that with that being said, and then the second problem is a much more convoluted problem, where it's with the fence. That's something
my neighbor trespassing on my property and me calling the police saying trespass and them interrupting my business with my landscaper and the police not citing any violation, saying it's a neighbor dispute when I have photographic video evidence and witnesses, third-party witnesses, including my landscaper, who is a part of that. So I'm just seeing all the power structures in the village abdicate their power, and that's why at the start of the meeting I was asking about the charter revision.
Yeah.
When is that happening? Like, how can we make this more efficient, working for everybody, but also those with outsized voices like myself? This is the budget workshop. There's less than 1% of the village here, right? And then as I explained earlier, obviously I get to pay a higher percentage of taxes, which I'm happy to do, but I want to see a community that supports us.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing it.
Well, I mean, I think that I am supporting.
I thought you were just handing them out. Mr. Mayor, can I ask the gentleman? Could you repeat your name for me, please?
My name's Thomas.
Thomas. Exactly what part of the charter do you have an issue with, or is it more the day-to-day functioning of the village?
Yeah, I have an issue with it being a manager-run village.
Okay, you would want to change the
Possibly.
complete
Yep.
structure.
And I also have Web3 ideas.
Okay.
to enable that as well, which I'm very happy to share at a later time. However, the entire charter, right? It's convoluted. There's a lot of inconsistencies. There's so many rules and ordinances about fences, nothing about light trespassing.
Mm-hmm.
We're a bird sanctuary, but dogs and cats can be roaming, killing the birds, whatever.
So-
it's just the entire thing needs a scrub, and I have it. That's why the charter has section 7.5 to revise it every 10 years.
So I definitely get that. I just want to make sure that we give you an accurate idea of what your best remedy is. So if it is an ordinance that we're talking about, that's a more immediate fix that we can talk about right now. When you talk about revising a charter, like the mayor stated, there is a lot that goes into it because the effort is to revise the entire charter and then take all the revisions to the ballot at the same time. And it's just a longer lift than if you were had a sticking point with one particular thing that might be changed via ordinance. So if you're talking about essentially the structure of the whole thing, then yes, definitely that's something that you can look at revising the charter with, but definitely it would be something that contemplates a longer period of time. So just wanted to figure out exactly what your issue was and how best we can address it. But what you're saying is true. A lot of cities and municipalities don't have this automatic review of the charter. It is more something that is spurred by either outcry from administration or from the community members itself. But since that is stated in our charter, it's something that we have to do, and we have to think about whether or not we do want to have that automatic review. But
And my question for the lawyer who's not in attendance today would be, is the charter even enforceable, considering it's not being reviewed per the charter for every 10 years?
So I'm not going to step on the attorney's toes, and I'll let him speak to that. But I do believe that we would still be a city, and we would still have a charter. It would just be this one clause is not the entire thing is like thrown away. Just this one clause is what is not being adhered to. So, but I think I have your issue, and I think in general, beyond the charter issue, I sense that you want a clear access point to impact how the city is being run. Is that
Yeah, we're only
fair
like
to say?
500 people, age 18 plus,
Yeah.
who can actually participate, be involved.
Yeah.
I mean, thank goodness for all of you who are volunteering your time, but no one else even ran.
Yeah.
That's the state. Like, how can we have civics? How can we have a proper functioning community, society, whatever, without involvement?
This
Right?
is true.
And that's also, I've heard from a lot of neighbors since I've gone here too, a lot of complaints about historically the village, which has really tapped people out and not wanting to be involved.
That's
This is true.
historically, that's changed. That's changed though, Mr. Pulliam. That's
Great.
changed. That
Great.
culture's changing.
Yes, and I
Absolutely.
want that to, this building should be full. Why are we even paying tax dollars for this when, look who's showing up today?
Yeah,
I-
well, go ahead, Councilperson Moore.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And I was just saying, I think historically is like a really important word because I think it is a brand new council. And I think there have been and there is an ongoing effort to create easier access points for members of the community to participate. Our meetings are a lot shorter. We have a direct messaging system that's coming up, a marquee that's outside. The mayor makes sure that he sends these flyers and informationals about what's happening. For sure, it's a two-way street, but I think we're creating an environment that eventually when residents like you go out there and say, hey, they do listen, and it is a responsive way to get what you want out of your community. I think if you spread that word, hopefully more people show up and they'll discover that there are reasonable access points and also reasonable people. I don't think that we should not have a charter review commission if it states that in the ordinance, in the charter. And if you want to talk about a different structure, I think you should be able to talk about a different structure. And if everyone agrees, I think that should be it. So I think I sense a lot of angst, and I share that. I'm sorry that that's your experience, right, in the village, because I do want everyone to quietly enjoy the village. But it's your complaints aren't falling on deaf ears. Like, we definitely are listening and trying to figure out how to make it work for you as well. So all of your complaints I've noted, I'm sure my colleagues have noted, and we want to engage in the conversation, and hopefully there'll be more people, and you'll come back and hold our feet to the fire on some of the things that we're talking about this evening. And I'm sorry about the cat. I really am.
Yeah, and let me just say for the record, Mr. Pulliam, before you leave the podium, that everything that you hold dear, everything as Councilperson Martin said, like as soon as you came to me and discussed what happened, unfortunately with Bobby, I put that ordinance in motion and worked hard, and we're almost done, and we have a conversation that we have to follow up on soon about that before we get to bring it to the council. But as she said, anything that is right there that we feel like is an emergency, I'll put into an ordinance, and we'll attack it right away.
Yeah, but again, my complaint is the enforcement.
I understand.
I'm not seeing the enforcement. We have tons of ordinances. Again, from January 1st to July 31st, there was only 12 reported.
I understand. The last thing I want to say for the record also is that, I have a new initiative called Connecting the County, where, we've been going around and we're going to every single commission and council meeting from every other municipality in Miami-Dade County, all 34, 35, including Miami-Dade County. And let me just say, just for the record, just so everybody knows out there, these meetings that I've been going to, and I go to the county commission meetings all the time. When things are good, you don't really see a lot of individuals at meetings. When things are bad and terrible, that's when those village halls and those city halls are filled to the T. And the same thing with the county commission meetings. I've been to county commission meetings where there's like 4 of us in the audience. I'm like, there's a county commission meeting. There's like 4 of us in the audience. But let there be something on the county commission agenda, Madam Clerk, Madam Manager, that's like, something that's going to affect many individuals and things like that. And that's when you get the signs and stuff like that. So just historically throughout government, usually if people are pretty satisfied, you really don't see them, and these village halls and city halls won't be packed up like that. It's usually when people are very unsatisfied, and that's when you'll see these village halls and these cities halls really be packed. A lot of people, you guys, they come home from work, and especially El Portal now, it's mostly young families. They come home, they pick up their kid from practice or whatever, and that's what it is. And so, but let me tell you something, if we're messing up though, they'll make their way to Village Hall. They'll make their way to City Hall to come and show their what their opinion about what we're doing, as you did today, which we appreciate.
Yeah, and what is the recourse to take against village staff? If they're abdicating their duties or not enforcing, specifically police officers, police chief, village manager, building clerk, any of those paid staffed positions.
Yeah, if you have every right. What you can do is you can write an email to us, write an email to me or write an email to us about what's going on, specifically the situation that happened, and specifically what you feel like should happen or what went wrong in that situation, and we can take it from there.
So that's the formal complaint process that the village has?
That would be the complaint process.
Okay.
Would be to write to us.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you
your
very,
time
very
and attention.
much.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you very much. I appreciate it. Is there anybody else for good and welfare, you guys? And that was a special good and welfare, but this good and welfare is for the agenda item, all right, for the budget, which the first good and welfare usually always is. All right, hearing, seeing none. We're moving right along, you guys. We're going right to the agenda item, and the first agenda item is the budget. All right, this is a budget workshop, you guys. We have the first budget hearing next week, and then we have a second budget hearing after that, okay? So this is a budget workshop. You guys open your budget pages up. The first page that I want to go to is the general fund revenue. That is, if nobody has a question about the budget summary. This is the budget summary. Look right here. It's the plain white sheet that's vertical. Everything that's in the budget summary we'll see when we go by the line items by department. All right. Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot.
Before you really get started, I noticed that you had department heads on here. And when we see this again, can we also have it, I don't want to discuss it tonight, that they have maintained the certifications necessary for the positions, and that's my comments on the department heads.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%. We'll definitely do that. Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. That being said, you guys want to go to the general revenue
Yes.
page? This is the first page, blue general revenue page. Council, or anybody in the audience, do you have any questions about the general fund revenue page? I'll give you guys a second to look over it.
You're speaking to the summary?
I'm speaking to the,
First page. Page three. Page three.
Okay, we're going over to page 3. What happened to, I got it. Thank you. I have a question.
yes.
Well, I have several questions about each page almost.
Yeah, we're gonna go page by page by
Yes.
page. You guys remember
Yeah.
how we did it last year when we did the workshop last year? It was on Zoom
Right.
last year, but.
I noticed we're showing a 10.72% increase in the budget. Is that basically because of inflation or what? There's a variance between
Yeah, the variance.
the 2 years. And I'm curious as to 10.72%.
Harry Taubenfeld, Chief Financial Officer. I can answer that question for you. The majority of your increase is coming from ad valorem taxes. So the increase in property value generated some additional revenue for the village. And one other line item where there's a big difference would be the amount that's budgeted for the off-duty detail for the police officers.
So could you say that again so that when someone's listening to it or looking at the tape in itself, you're saying basically, we have not increased it.
No.
The value has been increased. Say that again?
That is correct. The millage rate has not changed. It stayed flat at 8.3, which it's been at 8.3 for at least 10 years. The increase is due to the property tax increase. So the ad valorem, the taxes, that generated a big portion of the increase in the general revenue fund.
Very
Yeah.
good.
And let me say for the record, for the off-duty detail, you guys, off-duty is a wash. Off-duty is when our officers work off-duty at like a different location. So for example, let's say if our officers work off-duty at Dolphin Mall, okay? Then we'll get, the way it works is we'll get charged the, we'll show the off-duty from the payout to the cops, and then Dolphin Mall will pay us back for the off-duty because it was at Dolphin Mall. It just sometimes takes a while for their payment to come in, but off-duty is always 100% wash,
Yes.
okay?
And to add to that, we do not pay the officers until we actually collect payment
Okay.
from the, whoever the service is being done.
I just know sometimes it takes them a while to get it in. But off-duty is definitely 100% wash. Are there any other questions, you guys, for the general fund revenue?
Yeah, I do have a question. Bear with me, my screen is going in and out. But for code enforcement revenue, I see year-to-date, we've realized around $34,000. But we're only anticipating a $15,000 revenue next year. What is that? Did we increase enforcement this year, or?
There was just one judgment, one fine, in excess of $30,000.
Oh, that was outsized?
Yeah.
Okay, and we
So-
don't, exactly, and we couldn't expect that to be duplicated next year?
Correct.
Okay, got it. And then another question about the copies line item. What exactly is that?
The building department charges fees to make copies, whether they be for plans or permits and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Which line item was that? The copy?
The
thing? I
copies?
see it, I see it,
Okay.
I see it. Okay. So
Thank you.
is it normal for to have that type of increase? Is that, am I missing something?
For which line item?
The same one that my colleague just asked about, the copies.
Well, we budgeted $200 for this year, and we actually raised $1,293 through July. So yeah, I'm expecting $1,000 for the next fiscal year should be a good amount.
Do we know why it changed so dramatically?
I don't know offhand. My guess is that there have just been more requests.
There've been more requests, I see. That aligns with the gentleman has just talked about, that the activity is there, and this is the budget that shows that we used to didn't do that much, and now we're getting more requests for, okay, makes sense to me.
You,
What is the echo? What's going on? Do y'all hear the echo?
we have to also remember also, you guys, that remember, it wasn't until recently when we did the cap deal that we got those two, full-time front desk, building department clerks. And so let me tell you, I'm here every day. I've been here since this morning, since 8:30 a.m. So, every day we get many more. There's so many more people that are moving into El Portal nowadays. We have so many more. We have the businesses going up, you guys, and so the activity at our front building department is so much more than it used to be. So much more than it used to be.
This is the kind of thing we like to hear, because at one time it was just like a ghost town.
Yeah, it was like a ghost town, but no.
But knowing that, number one, folks know that we're here, and number two, that they know that we're truly a city,
Yeah.
a small one as it may be, we're doing things. And I noticed it in the budget in and of itself. I'm sitting here with both the 2020 to 21 budget and how we came up with the 22 budget. Okay, now I'm looking at the 22 to 23, but my comparison went back to the actual FY 20. You see what I'm saying? What we don't have here is the actual 2021. Well, you wouldn't have to, because we've been consistent in how we've been handling the funds. So I have no complaints. I have questions, but I have no complaints. We are literally still 2,700, a little more than that, residents, Mayor?
Yep.
2,700. I came into this village, yeah, that's the last one on the web. Shows we're 2,700 residents in this village, okay? So that's speaking for itself. When I moved in, it wasn't that many people. It wasn't 2,700, let me tell you that. But that will cause us to have these kind of waves, as I like to think of it. Moving forth with, I have no other questions about this first page.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, and great points being made. You know, as Mr. Pulliam is one of those individuals, you guys, people are moving in and they're getting a lot of work done on their homes.
Mm-hmm.
And so our front desk building department, with those permits that are being pulled, and you know, El Portal was like a crazy location when the housing market, you know, just went bananas. I mean, you guys might know there were people that have been living here for 20 years that I knew. 30 years that sold, because when they first bought their house, it was $250,000. They sold their house for $930,000 and moved to North Carolina or South Carolina. And so we've been getting so many new families, you all. And so our building department, yeah, is really
Mr. Mayor, if I might, I think also with that influx, we have to be aware that maybe customer service training has to be boosted because a lot of people that are moving in have quite different expectations on what their experience should be like. And our intentions are there, but maybe what we need to layer on is just some training that's very customer service targeted that will leave everybody satisfied with their experience at that front desk.
Absolutely. I concur, Councilperson Martin, great point. And, you know, training is one of the things that I've been speaking about for a while now. Thank you very much. Any other questions for the first page, general fund revenue, before we move on to the second page? Okay, I am hearing none. Let's move to the second page. Flip that page, you guys. This is the council page. Any questions here?
I have a question. The travel and per diem line item, it jumped from 3,000 to 7,500. Exactly what kind of travel are we anticipating, or what does this contemplate?
Okay, so we have, I kind of wanted to, last year, three of us went to Tallahassee, okay? And even though three of us went to Tallahassee, I wanted to, Madam Manager, I think there's something in here also that you might be able to explain. But a lot of this workshop, you guys, and a lot of this budget, what's in here is forecasting. Forecasting what is most likely to happen. I think that, you know, going forward, I think especially with the, you know, being reelected, I think that, you know, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, I think that yourself, Councilperson Martin, I think we're all going to become more involved. And I don't want to, I'd rather be safe than sorry. I don't want to under budget. I don't know if you all are going to be joining us this year going to Tallahassee. As the three of us did, and I know Clerk Jacoby was there and Manager Lou was there last year. But just in case, I want to make sure that we are covered for any type of travel that anyone might want to do when it comes to legislation or any type of conferences or anything like that, so that, and we don't have to keep it there, but I just want to be more safe than sorry, so that later on we're not trying to, not necessarily scramble, we're not trying to say we went over budget or trying to find somewhere else to pull the money from or anything like that. So I would rather us budget it, have it there, and I think we're going to become close to it, if nothing else, because as you see, the year to date we're like $3,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that with yourself and with Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, if you guys decide to travel, I think that we at least need a little bit more travel. Let me also say this for the record. I don't turn any Madam Manager receipts into the village at all. I don't turn any receipts into the village at all. I don't know if I'm going to be the same next fiscal year, because you guys, I am all over this county, Madam Manager, about at least 3 days every single week, going to meetings, driving all over this county, at least 3 days every single week. And I don't turn in no gas receipts. I don't turn, you know what I mean? I'm driving my own car, and I'm talking about, a meeting in Homestead, then a meeting in Miami Gardens, and I'm back here, for a resilience meeting. So I may next year start turning some receipts, as my predecessor used to turn in all her receipts. I just haven't. And I've been all over the place for the past couple of years. I've been mayor, and I haven't turned in one receipt for anything, So, but I might do that, next year.
No, I get that. Similarly, I haven't turned in anything, but I know that you definitely go a lot of places. I just think if we were effective with 3, we probably need to have a discussion about which 3 council members are best suited to represent the village, instead of contemplating us all traveling. And I don't think that in any way you should have to cover the expense of like riding around this county, but I don't know if we were effective with 3, if we need to contemplate all of us traveling. But that's just
I have no
that's just my
I have no problem with the 3, but I didn't I want to be more inclusive.
For sure.
I don't want to just assume that, you know what I mean. I don't want to get to a point to where the 3 of us going and somebody else is going and somebody else is going, and then there's a convention or something, and then somebody's telling a council person, oh no, you can't go, we ain't got the money for you to go.
No.
So
I completely get that.
But I
And that's
understand
just
what you're
my
saying.
viewpoint on it. Maybe everybody else is comfortable with the,
No, I
with the
understand what
travel
you're
line
saying.
item.
Maybe I wanted to be too safe than sorry. Too safe, Madam Councilperson. You guys,
Mr.
we
Mayor.
can
Mr. Mayor.
we can bring it down if you guys want to. Go ahead, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Notice that the word freight is misspelled, and I want to know what the council discretionary funds are about. I appreciate my colleague speaking to the travel part of it, but I don't know what council discretionary funds look like. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so council discretionary fund, that's something that has always been there. It has always
Yes.
been there. We actually have that in our charter, that we all get discretionary fund, and it is $10,000 because it is $2,000 apiece. You can only use that for anything related to village business. Okay? Let's say, for example, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, if you want to throw a Jazz in the Grass event at Horace Mann on a cool December night, you
see
can
it.
use your $2,000 towards that event, because that's for the village. Okay? Can't use it. It's not your personal money. Can't put it in your pocket. All right? Can't use it for anybody really outside the village, but you can use it for anything that will benefit the residents of El Portal. And we all have that.
Yeah.
And that's per charter.
Yeah. That, good to say that on the record, because a lot of
Absolutely.
people didn't understand it last year.
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Any other questions, you guys? Remember, this is the workshop. if there's anything, even after tonight, you guys go home and you see and you say, you know what, I think that probably should have been higher or lower, you can contact the manager. And when we go into our first budget hearing, which is the actual hearing, this is the workshop where we're just working it right now. The hearing is next Wednesday, you guys. I mean,
Yeah,
next Tuesday.
And that's one of the things I pointed out to the CFO about that line on where it says adopted. It's kind of misleading because the community could think like that
Yeah, it
was-
hasn't been adopted.
It hasn't been adopted, so it has to be changed to proposed or,
Yeah.
to
It's-
be determined or whatever.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Right.
And I think that because here it says proposed on the first page, the head page says
Right,
proposed.
but under the
and
line
then-
for the fiscal
Yeah.
year of 2023, it says, adopted. So
Yeah.
that hasn't been adopted
Yeah,
yet.
that-
Yeah,
so-
no, I hear you. But under the budget summary, it does say proposed also.
Yes, yes.
So what I will say is, I like the discretionary fund line item. Discretionary is also misspelled for the record, but I do like that because I think last year during our budget cycle, we definitely gutted the events. And I do think this is a very flexible way for us to either satisfy a need in the community or create some sort of community event, which is awesome to do. So I like that line item, and I will definitely remind myself to use it more. But I would drop that travel and per diem item to about $5,000.
5,000?
Yeah. I think that increase might be a little scary to anyone.
Yeah. I
5,000
agree.
sound good to the rest of you all?
Yeah, I agree with that.
5,000. 5,000. Can I get a motion for 5,000?
You have?
Motion by Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Can I get a second for 5,000?
No second.
Oh, second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. For 5,000, since we're doing money, let's do a roll call, Madam Clerk, very quickly. 5,000.
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Councilperson Perrella. Vice Mayor Urban.
No.
Mayor Nickerson.
Yeah, I guess so.
Motion passes 4-1.
What?
No problem. All right, thank you very much, you guys. Any other questions for the council item? Council,
So I trust that you're taking notes on this one. All right, so we're down from 43 to,
we're down to 38?
we're down to 38. That's why I'm asking. You take 5,000 from the balance.
My understanding is that we're reducing it by 2,500 down to 5,000. So the total number.
That's right, we're reducing
The
it.
total number will be
25.
41,400.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
right, we're reducing it 2,500, my bad. Trying to take off 5,000. Slow down, Mayor.
And what about the retirement plan? I guess we were discussing that and whether we need it or not, if it was needed. I mean, I personally don't think it should be something that should be there, so.
I know that the,
$2,900 almost. So,
yeah,
Retirement contribution?
all right, retirement contribution,
Yeah, this-
FICA,
This was a,
taxes expensive, I don't know.
Yeah.
this is the FRS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a cynical action taken by a previous administration, and in my opinion, I'm definitely, I would be encouraged to address this in the future and figure out a way to go back to the way it was, but for this specific line item right now, I think there's other fish to fry in this budget, but unless it's something, I mean, can we undo the FRS tonight or in this budget? Is it that simple?
it's not that simple, that's the
Right.
problem.
I don't imagine.
I don't
it is.
believe it's that simple. It's
Right.
my understanding that once you're in it, you have to stay in it, but I could definitely inquire.
Right, because I think even the status of the council was adjusted to accommodate this, so, I mean, this definitely needs to be addressed in the future, but I don't know that it's gonna get accomplished in this budget.
Yeah, I'll bring it up, you guys, at a future.
We want to work for free.
Yeah, because
I bring-
once you understand what that pension is, then that makes the difference. But a lot of people don't understand what that pension, it is a
Yeah.
pension. Florida retirement system is a pension. So how it got in there, I'm not concerned. I'm more concerned with the validity of it at this point.
Yeah, we'll definitely bring that up at a future committee meeting, you guys. I'll make sure I have that on the agenda. All right?
Alright.
Because I know that getting out of FRS is not just getting out of FRS like that. There's a lot you have to adjust with that. All right? Any other questions, comments for the council department?
Turn the page.
I'll bring you up. Come on. I'm all inclusive, my brother. Come on. You have to do the same thing, though. You have to come to and say your name and address for the record so that the transcripts pick it up. Yeah.
My name's Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. I'm just going through this as well, and I have some.
But on this page, though, for the council page, we're going to go page by page, so if you have a question for
We're on
another
number
page, we'll
3.
get there.
Page 3.
Yeah, page 3, yeah.
The
We're
previous
on page, oh, you're on previous page, okay.
There you go. I didn't know I could participate.
No, go ahead, you're good.
Yeah, you
You're good.
can.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just have I don't understand how the second, or 1, 2, 3, the fourth column, year-to-date, so mid-year, how are we going over budget, over the adopted budget on some of these things, like, sorry, sorry, this is revenue. Sorry, my question is if I did a public records request, and the information I was given was we only collected $200, how is this showing 33,000 and judgment and fines is showing 36,000? And also, how is that so?
Yeah,
I know you said there was a big outsized fine or something, but that also didn't show up on the public records request.
Yeah, that's why I was confused when you said that it was only
Yeah.
$12,000.
I
was
asked
like,
for January 1st
That's what I was
through
looking
July 31st. That was the information I was given, and now I'm showing up at the budget workshop. The number's completely different.
yeah, that's why I was so.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the fiscal year here starts October, so I mean, without looking at the detail of when the actual income came in, it's possible that it came in what would be the fourth quarter calendar year, but first quarter for our fiscal year. Does that make sense?
Is October 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's when it starts.
That's all I have.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much. All right, you guys, let's move on to administration and finance. That's page 5. I'll give you guys a few minutes. Any questions? Just let me know.
Mr. Mayor,
So,
Let me go to Vice Mayor Urban first. Councilperson
good.
Lightfoot Ward, you'll be next. Vice
All right.
Mayor Urban.
so with executive salaries, just if there is a quick explanation of why we are over budget on something like a salary.
Yeah.
Sure.
You said sure.
I'm sorry, did you want me to answer that?
Oh, you
or-
can or I can. Go ahead.
Okay. The council approved back in February the monies that were owed to the village manager. There was a 3-year period where we did not honor the contract, so we trued it up back in February.
Yeah, if you guys remember, we were out of contract.
And the proposed rate for next year takes into account the increase noted in the contract.
And right below that, the regular salaries, that's the office administrator. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
is that a question? Was
No,
that a question?
I'm making a statement. I'm saying, and right below that, for everybody to know, regular salaries is the office administrator, just in case people didn't know.
Okay.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, I know you had a question.
No, that was a question. You answered my question.
I do have a question. In the line item, professional fees, other, what is contemplated here? What are these fees?
Professional fees, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's anticipating, the current year expense was related to the refinancing of the note with Synovus.
Okay.
So the assumption that I'm making here is that with the completion of the 2020 audit, which should hopefully happen in the next couple of weeks, we'll have the opportunity to go back to the bank and get the loan restructured and not pay the exorbitant interest rate that we're paying.
Okay.
And so,
And you guys will see in my State of the Village address how important the audit situation is for us, to me.
I have a next question.
Go ahead.
Bank
Vice Mayor.
service fees, we are 300% over budget, it looks like.
We can't
Sorry,
hear you.
The bank, forgive me, the bank service fees looks like we're 300% over budget.
Bank service fees?
Yes.
Those were fees that were related to an old Bank of America account that the village still has, as the operating account. I've spoken with them. They overcharged the municipality, so I'm in the process of working that out and trying to get a credit. I can't speak for how much, but which we had one account, they were charging us for like 7, 8 different accounts, service fees. So,
Okay.
gonna try to claw back and get as much as I can for that.
That certainly sounds like Bank of America.
Yeah, at one point, we did have many different accounts in the past, many moons ago. But, you know, we've been consolidating everything. We were even finding, Madam Clerk, we were finding cell phone accounts we were paying for people who are not only not here anymore, people who have passed on. And so when I became mayor, people have passed. So when I became mayor and we're bringing in, we're just cleaning up everything and trying to consolidate and clean up everything. So. Any other questions, you guys? Page 5.
Well, yes, I do have a question, going back to the executive salary. This is assuming that the increase for this year will be 8%, anticipating whatever the merit is by the contract is given to the manager.
Mm-hmm.
So it's including the 3% COLA plus they are assuming
The 5%.
that the 5% it's also in. And that's because we got it.
Yeah.
We brought it current to 115,000. So, I don't know if this will be part of the discussion, but I see the funds that were paid were at a little bit over $80,000, right? For the manager, to bring the manager current to this year, the out-of-pocket or from the village.
From 91 to
From-
103?
Well, the payment was two
From twen-
parts. There was a salary, and then there was a PTO
The
payout.
PTO.
So
Right.
if you combine the two, I believe you're pretty close to that number. I don't have the exact number in front of me. It's on the gross.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
23 plus 54, right?
23 plus 54. Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And
On the
what,
gross.
that money,
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The gross on the second one was less. The gross on the second one was about 47.
Yeah.
oh, okay,
Sorry.
okay,
Yes, so it's about 75.
okay.
And on that note, finish? On that note,
Yes.
I don't think we're treating the managers right. I really don't. She has a contract that's now 4 years old. Nobody's looked back at it again, and I don't think that's fair. I think 3 years, we should be diligent about the person that actually runs this village for us. Not only that, other contracted employees here need to have theirs looked at too, Mayor. And that's not a put on anybody or anyone. That's just conscientiousness that things don't remain the same. They really don't. And it would do good to look back at all the contracts, make sure we're not just trying to operate 3 years behind. Things have changed. We need to take note of that. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, I have one question about the negative 50% on the repair and maintenance line item. It is one of two negative, did we save money there? Or it looks like we overexpended in '22 for the repair and maintenance, and it only came to 5,000. Commended for that. We want to take notice that we may have budgeted for it, but we didn't need it. Doesn't mean we won't need it in the future. It's just that, did we get new equipment or something like that? What did we get? What made the difference in us not spending 10,000? When the year before, it was, well, we don't even want to know what 20, you don't even want to know what actual 20 was. You want to stay right here with this number where we have this negative 50%.
Yeah.
So what was the magic number for that? And also in the membership and publications, what was the magic thing about those two that makes them negative? What,
So I can't speak, sorry,
oh,
I'm sorry.
Repair and maintenance you're talking about?
So,
What is repair and maintenance?
just
the
as a
other?
reminder, I started with the village back in December.
Yes.
So the budget was obviously prepared for the current fiscal year that we're in. So I can't speak to how those numbers were, how they came about with those numbers. In preparing the budget for this current fiscal year, obviously I looked at the, historical, I looked at the current run rate, and I also sat down with the department heads. I would just credit the reduction to just watching our dollars, making sure, only spending money where we really have to.
Yeah, not only that, I want to give kudos to the manager, because the village manager, you guys, I know she's been working hard here, and sometimes when I'm back there in the office with her, she's continuously doing classes and getting more certifications for her management position. And so that being said, even though those classes and things like that, previously we had 2,420. Going into next year, since she completed so much this year,
Very
she
good.
doesn't need the same amount next year.
Okay. That gets down to
Thank you, and I'm
18.
sorry, my
Well,
mic is off. I didn't have one before, and now I have it, it's too much. But yeah, we've just been diligent. We just, we do what we can, and we tighten it up. But as you can see, things are moving around the village hall, and we always try to make it better.
Yeah. Most commendable, most commendable. All right, Mr. Mayor, I think
Okay.
I've had my questions answered in terms of the negative numbers
No
on this
problem.
chart.
Thank you very much,
Variance.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Madam Manager, maybe if you move your microphone to the edge of the table a little bit, because I know when we speak, we have to get you on record. So we'll try to get you on record. All right?
And I'll try to speak loud.
Maybe from there, and just keep it like that, maybe right there, it'll be good. All right, moving on, good five? Five, come on.
Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. Several items here on page 5. The first one, executive salaries, that's just for one person or multiple people?
That's just for one person, yes.
36% increase in 1 year is unfathomable.
So-
who gets that?
So we were out
People
of,
should be a
we were-
public servant,
we were out of
not
com-
here to be making money.
we were out of compliance with the contract for the manager. And so what happened is, when we all came on council, when I became mayor and we all came on council, there were so many things that the village was doing and was out of compliance. Things that were, people had oversight, people had overlooked for years and years and years. So when I came in and when we all came in, we're looking at everything. We're looking at all of our contracts. We're looking at everything that's been out there, and we're bringing everything current to where it legally needs to be. And so if things would have been done right and correctly, she would have had those smaller raises over those past 5 years, over those past 3 to 5 years.
Basically, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, basically 8% per year.
Yes.
Starting at, when she started the village manager started here, her salary was 85,000. And so it wasn't raised all the way to bring her current until actually
Yeah.
the beginning of this year.
The problem is
And why
that
was that not in the original budget then? If we knew it needed to be caught up, why was there not a budget at the beginning of in October to make up for it? How come it's showing?
because last October, or prior to last October, was when we were still going through everything, seeing what we had to clean up, seeing what we had to get together. We're doing so much because even, for example, there are so many individuals and companies that we have working for us that we haven't done an RFP or RFQ for them in years. So we're going to go back and revisit all of that. And so we're just trying to clean up everything. So again, to make a long story short, if she would have been kept current year after year, the way how most businesses do, at the end of every year, you have to go through somebody's PTO. Right? Are you going to take the time off, or are you going to get paid for your time off? You make a decision. The previous council, under the previous leadership, they had let that slide for so long. So when we came in, we're trying to clean up and bring everything current and just clean up everything. So that's why
Got
in
it.
1
Okay,
year.
I didn't realize it was so messed up before.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it was.
that's helpful. But I would also say 8% year over year. That's not normal. And private sector, you're getting 3 to maybe 5%, unless you're getting promoted or you're going to another position. 8% for Florida here. That's really crazy. This is a really inflated salary for the lack of management I'm seeing. So I would really like that to be reconsidered. Or again, when we have an opportunity to revise the village charter, which is supposed to be done every 10 years, starting March 2012, to look at other forms of government where we're not shelling out this much money for putting everything on one person to do everything. Moving on. I have a question around the professional fees other. $19,250 was spent. What did that go to?
Okay, so you want to say it again, or? All right, so that was from the we had to refinance. I don't know if you know about the previous administration and the FEMA debacle.
I've heard a little bit.
Okay. So since the FEMA debacle happened in the previous administration, when I first became mayor, I mean, I was mayor for how long, you guys? Maybe 2 months when we got that $600,000 in, right? Like maybe a couple months before we got that $600,000. So we got some money in as soon as I became mayor. The council, we got some money in from FEMA. We have still money left over from FEMA that we're waiting for. But until that money that comes in that we're waiting for, we had to, the previous administration took out a loan with Synovus to cover the money that the village had lacked from not getting the FEMA reimbursement. Does that make sense? So
It does. It's just the
So-
title here, I would
yeah.
say, is not very transparent.
We can
It's
change
really
that.
bearing in and would leave a lot of question marks for anyone and anyone in the village who's not here tonight.
we can change that. We can change that. Professional fees, we can change it to the Synovus refinancing
Great.
FEMA or something like that.
Thank you.
FEMA non-legal retainer. Well, I think
Still
we're
not
the-
transparent
I think
for
we're the-
members
For the
who
residents,
are new
it's
to the
still
village.
vague. It's still very vague for residents.
Synovus refinancing, FEMA. And I want FEMA in next to it somewhere.
Valid point, Mr. Mayor. It's a valid point.
Moving on, the repair and maintenance line item I know was discussed. I have seen in Sherwood Forest Park a lot of stuff, like the light's not on, the fountain not working, whatnot. So I don't know if that's part of
Yeah.
that budget or not.
No, that wouldn't be here. That'd be Public Works, and
Okay.
yeah, that'd be Public Works. But
So what is repair and maintenance limited to? Just Village Hall?
This
yes,
is
it would just be
Administration and
Village
Finance.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And maybe this was brought up too, but the line item that's plus 275%, other current charges, what is that? 2,000 was budgeted, 9,000 has been spent?
2,000, 9,000.
You see it?
Harry, what's that?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't have that detailed information.
That was gonna
With
be
me.
my final question before moving on as well.
Mine too.
And
I'll have to get back to you on that.
and being fully aware, more than anybody probably in this room, as far as the difficulties and challenges created by previous CFOs and the former mayor, to have that kind of discrepancy in a vague line item very sincerely needs to be addressed with clarity. And I agree with the resident to the point that, when we come to these vague titles and these line items, we've burned every bridge that ever existed when it comes to vagueness in our budget, and there has to be outrageous amounts of clarity going forward, sincerely.
No worries.
Yeah.
Point taken.
That's all I have on page 5, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pulliam. Appreciate it. Everybody good on page 5? We're going to page 6?
Yes, let's go on to page 6.
Page 6, this is planning. This is just Placerbia, you guys.
Yes.
That's what this is. I don't know if there's any questions. Pretty much stays the same.
Let's be clear before we move on. The
Uh-huh.
negative 552% is based on the real number of 61.5 matching what we anticipated, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Page 7, you guys. This is Village Clerk. Any questions here?
Tell us what's going on here. That's almost a
Yeah, let
30% increase. I'd already said the village clerk was underpaid, but
Okay, so yeah.
let's talk in the public sector.
The village clerk is still underpaid, so if you notice her year-to-date is 47. She has not, she's not getting, 68 this year. The village clerk is well behind her raises that she should have been getting. That being said, what this is, and I think I said this before, you guys, that when we were speaking about the travel, a lot of this stuff is possible forecasting. Okay.
But we're talking about a salary here.
Yes.
Talking about salary.
So, and, I mean, I agree
She
that,
has a
I agree that the
part-time
clerk is
salary.
underpaid, but we have not had any discussions with concrete, dollar amounts in terms of,
No, we have not. Mm-mm.
okay, so.
No.
so
Mayor,
where-
Mayor,
So then where did this number come from?
I can tell you.
Okay.
Simple assumption here is assuming that the village clerk is going to be working a full 80-hour biweekly pay period at her current salary. Again, budgeting in, just seeing where the hours have been, ranging in the high 20s, low 30s on a weekly basis, some peaks, some valleys. The assumption that I made here was a 40-hour work week at a current rate.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Councilperson Martin.
we got a full-time village clerk, right?
Yeah, so previously, your hours didn't hit 40 a week.
No. As you know, we have, sometimes monthly, we have 4 meetings.
Okay.
And also have a contract. I've been working here. I'm the longest working employee you guys have. I've never even asked for a raise. I leave it up to the council where it merits. I also have a contract that, as I said, for the past years, it hasn't been honored. 68,640 is what he came up with my current pay. No raises, no nothing. This is what would be. The problem is that you always see 50, but it was never adjusted. So for the past years, you're used to seeing 50, 50, 50, but never adjusted.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, how many years have you been working here?
I'm almost 8 years.
Almost 8, yeah.
Yes.
It's never been adjusted. So, all right, as I said, you guys, a lot of this stuff, I don't want to get to the point to where if we say we want to bring the clerk current, or we want to bring the clerk full-time, or whatever we want to bring the clerk, because in this year, and you guys will see this a lot more when I do my State of the Village, like, we're going to be in cleanup mode. Like, we're going to straighten up everything that has been left behind, that we had it wasn't our problem, you know what I mean? But we're going to go through contracts, we're going through RFPs, we're going through RFQs. I want to update as much as we can, in this council while we're here. And so that being said, as I said before, a lot of this stuff is, I want to get to a point to where things that we're going to be bringing up and tackling, for example, the clerk doesn't have a job description. Anything. Me and her are going to be working on a job description. She doesn't even have a job description on record. And so we're going to bring a whole bunch of things current. I don't want to get to a point to where when we start to have these discussions about bringing things current, and then we vote on something and it's like, oh, well, that wasn't budgeted, or that wasn't. So what I wanted to do with this, you guys, was kind of paint the worst case scenarios. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? So when we get there, it's like, it might even be less than what we saw or what we see, but these would be the worst case scenarios. But I understand, but go ahead, Councilperson Martin, 'cause I see it on your mind. Go ahead, say what you want to say.
No, I'm moving on to video recordings.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, that's what's on my mind. So if someone else has a comment about the salaries, then, yeah.
I do. See, this is the reason why we got reelected. All 5 of us, this has not ever happened. We've been cleaning up since we got here. And it's been a mess, and it's not fair to the administration, it's not fair to the clerk, it's not even fair to the village. And that's why we all got reelected. That was the word on the street. You all are cleaning stuff up that had not been done before. And we have a lot of credit going to not only the manager, but the mayor, the vice mayor, and all 3 of us. We're somewhere doing something, hearing what needs to be done. We did not start the problem, but we are determined to fix if they'll let us. And this vote of confidence this time is why we're all still here today. And I just want to say right now, Mr. Mayor, we don't have a chance to say it anymore. I want to thank the villagers for having that much confidence in us. We're not up here for show business. We're up here to do business. And that's all we care about, because we know when we asked them to elect us, which they did, you and I know that nobody ran against us. They knew us. And if they didn't, they found out about us. So we found ourselves in a little bit of something, and thanks to people like Urban and my colleague here to my right and the mayor, is why we're here today. Not because we don't have anything else to do, but because we came with a commitment to clean up. And budget is basically one of the aspects that allows us to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, I want to say also, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, and you will know this, that cleaning up is the hardest thing, because you get all of the, the angst and the anger. You get the blame from the previous administration that messed everything up, and then while we're cleaning up, we have to deal with that. And so, cleaning up's not the fun part, right? Whoever comes after us, after we cleaned everything up, they're going to get all the praises.
You're saying this isn't the fun part?
That's just kind of how that goes, but that's the way things work.
I do have one small comment, because I understand villagers looking at the budget and seeing the percentage increase. It gives you pause. But the thing about that is, the salary is tied to the individual for now, but it also is tied to the city and our ability to compete against other municipalities and finding worthwhile candidates for these positions. And if you look outwards, even to similarly sized villages and cities, our staff they're not running to the bank. They're not getting the high end of these salaries. So part of it is honoring the contracts and also remaining competitive as far as the market salary for these positions. And I say somewhat competitive. So the numbers can give you pause, but I would urge anybody that is feeling that way to take a look at some of the other salaries and other municipalities received by the clerk and the village manager. That might help put things into perspective here. But I do have a question about video recordings, if you want to move forward as well. I was wondering what this number contemplated. Are we going to continue doing these hybrid meetings? Is that what the 15,000 is for?
Yeah, so this is not, first of all, you guys know that we stopped doing the hybrid meetings. Okay, because of a lot of the money was the hybrid meetings. Some of the money, for example, I'll just give a quick example. The hybrid community workshop that we did for short-term rental. Mm-hmm. Okay, because it was hybrid and with everything involved. I mean, because I signed the mayor signs the checks. If not, the mayor's not around. The vice mayor has to sign the check. That was like $2,000. All right, for that one meeting, because it was hybrid and everything's live, YouTube live, Facebook live, and everything like that with the transcripts and everything. So we stopped that. So that's most of what you're seeing here, you guys. We also have to remember, you guys, we're back all those audits.
Yep.
And so we're out of. Let me just say this very, very, very quickly. Manager Lou and myself, Madam Manager, for the past couple of weeks, we've been in meetings and spoken to individuals about funding that was supposed to come our way, and because the last administration and the previous CFO didn't have those audits and we're so far behind, Madam Manager, we have lost out on hundreds of thousands of free dollars because of the past. That being said, part of the problems with the audits, so as they're going through and they're giving us a lot of the problems, so we need to make sure that when they look through our meetings and things like that, Madam Clerk, that we have the transcripts and stuff like that. Our public records, our transcripts are also on point, okay? But yes, this is archiving purposes. Yes,
okay.
We have to have these meetings, we have to have them transcripted. So that we have that for the audit and for the public records. We need to keep those on file.
And do we also have these video recorded meetings readily accessible to the public on the website?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
but
I can get behind that.
Yeah, but the majority of this, though, are the hybrid meetings that we won't have anymore.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
yeah.
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 Yeah, I really do like that. I think it also helps with what, Thomas, I forgot your last name, but what you were stating as far as people being aware of what's happening. If you can go home and click on that meeting and kind of get the lowdown, that's a great
That was
thing.
one of my pet projects when I got here. It wasn't available. And I said, we need to know how we're more transparent to the public, and they can watch it at their own leisure, just to engage, for the public to
Perfect.
engage.
Kudos
So,
to you.
yeah,
That was a
that's
great
something I
idea.
definitely wanted to have.
And as a new council person, the YouTube channel was
It
invaluable.
was helpful, I know.
I watched
It's great to hear.
tens of hours of meetings to catch up and see what was going on, so.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I have one more.
Absolutely. Go ahead,
The one
Councilperson.
that's on the plaques and awards, can we bring that number down? Got a lot of flack on it from people that had copies of this, and then just want to know if we can lower this, because $4,000, 800 was not enough. Let's be clear, it was not enough. But I have a 400% increase. I think we ought to cut that in half, and let's kind of stick with where we were. We're almost at 4,000, but a lot of, let's just say it wasn't as positive for the people that weren't receiving. For the people that were receiving them there, yeah, we definitely appreciated that. I'm one of those people, but let's see if we can't do something with that. That may not be the most important thing in the world, but it speaks a different story out in the public. I say we cut it in half.
So you say you credit $2,000?
Yes, sir.
I think it should stay where it is personally, but 'cause I think outreach is very important. I think that also we'll be going this year to reach out and be with different municipalities. And I think that recognizing people, while they're still here and outreach and things like that is very, very important for El Portal, being one of the smallest municipalities. But whatever the council wants. There's a motion to bring it down to 2,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilperson Martin. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Roll call. Councilperson Martin.
Yes.
Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
Yes.
Councilperson Perella. Vice Mayor Urbom.
No.
Mayor Nickerson.
No.
Motion passes 3-2.
Okay.
On that note, I've also asked for it to be moved from the clerk's budget to administration, because I have no authority in giving anybody or awarding anyone the plaque. That would be under the mayor.
No problem.
Do we need a vote to move that?
No. we'll
Okay.
have it moved. Anybody else for page 7?
Yes, one
Go
final
ahead.
question. On the last item, the advertisement, I guess my assumption was that the increase had to do with it being an election year. However, the previous budget was also 10,000, so I think this is for the clerk, if you could speak to the advertising budget.
It's for the trim. The trim is very expensive. It's
Okay.
over $7,000.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I'd also like to add about the advertisement, sorry.
Do something about
Use
that.
Harry's.
I have to do some advertising for our RFQs and RFPs. So that's also a piece of advertisement that.
Okay, I guess then my final question is the 1620 of year-to-date accurate?
We haven't done the trim.
Right, we haven't done that.
The trim comes
The
up.
year-to-date numbers are only through July.
Okay, okay.
Once we do the trim, that takes the biggest piece. It's over $7,000.
Okay.
And I'm glad to see it here,
So we
even though it's
voted on
been.
what the trim's gonna be, we just haven't advertised it, gotcha.
Correct.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we'll be doing that really, really soon. Yeah. Soon. Anybody else for page 7?
Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. Just one more comment on the salaries. So, I was able to do a quick Google search, salary.com. Median salary in Miami of a city clerk is 47,862. Top 90th percentile is 58,439. So are we saying the clerk is, on the top? I understand we need to be competitive, and there's this history of raises not being implemented. but are we saying the clerk is in the top 1% in all of Miami?
No, I'm saying we need to not look at salary.com. We have to
I was just,
take a look, we have to take a look at, and it's public record. Miami-Dade County, just go to different municipalities. If you want that, that's something that we can create for you, but that's not an accurate
Okay, I
reflection.
guess I would just like rationale for how salaries are developed, right?
Yeah.
To have transparency in that, and to understand, okay, yes, they're deserving and
So,
worth this X amount of money and it's competitive.
So
and
for
we've done our homework. Not
so,
just-
no, for sure. We do our homework. But I don't want you to tie the salary too closely with the individual, right? Individuals can have their position or lose their position. If somebody lost their position and we needed a new clerk, if we advertised in this market the salary being $40,000, the quality or the caliber of the candidate would be lackluster at best, right? So we wouldn't be competitive in that arena, and then we would have to do some maneuvering because we would be below market. What I'm saying is that if you go across Miami-Dade County and ask what clerks are making, even the village clerk in a neighboring municipality, you can get
120.
a more accurate reflection of where we should be to be competitive. Now, a different analysis is the person who's holding the position now functioning up to par in this position? And that's another, you can have an opinion on that, and the mayor expressed to you that you can reach out to us and let us know why you think so or not. And that's something that the council can move on, right? Because we employ, or the manager and the chief of police serve at our will, as well as the clerk, I believe, according to our charter. So I think those are two different analyses. Are we where we're supposed to be in market? And I would take the salary.com out of the equation and get some real hard numbers. And then also, is the person who's in the position the person that we want in the position? Two different analyses, both of which you can chime in on. But I don't want you to muddle the two.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I align with that analysis you just gave.
Yeah.
My request, though, is just for more transparency for the taxpayers.
For sure.
And understanding how these numbers get generated. You know, it's a lot of effort. It was really quick for me to jump on salary.com. I understand that isn't necessarily a great point of reference.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like, when these numbers get proposed, to actually, in a workshop, have how that number is being generated, so we can evaluate it versus just looking, at a sheet, seeing that, 30% increases for
I'm sure that was done initially when the clerk was hired. I think from what I'm understanding is that, and I too am relatively new to the village. My husband and I and two boys have just been here since 2017. But I think that there was a contract that wasn't, that contemplated smaller increases, and those increases were not realized. And in an effort, this council is trying to do right by the person who has done the work and who should have received it and didn't receive it. And I think that not only is that a good posture as far as just being a good employer, but also I think it staves off any sort of legal ramifications that someone might pop into someone's mind. I think all of this is in an effort to protect the village. And yes, it looks like a big number, but that's because before the smaller increases weren't brought to pass.
That's fine. I would
Yeah.
just, again, hope and expect that, in a document like this, that kind of rationale would be included. Instead of
Yeah.
having to take this group time
I-
here and trying to.
No, and no, the time is not an issue. I want you to get it and feel comfortable with what you received. I think the CFO also is challenged by, he's creating these line items, and if we're too specific, it can only happen once. It would be a line item for refinancing of a specific loan that might only happen once. So he's trying to create these broad categories. I do agree with you that some of them could be a little bit more refined, but I think there's a challenge there as well. The format of this is kind of like this, we're going through these line items, but maybe we should contemplate maybe a supplementary document that kind of goes into more meatier aspects of these line items. But we hear you for sure, and I'm doing the best that I can to clarify, and hopefully it hits.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Okay.
It's just,
Like it.
Yeah, I'm still curious of that background information and would like that to be validated. Sure. So how would that be done? Public
Well, Mr.
records
Ma-
request?
The background information on what? The,
On why the clerk started out at 53,000?
No, so for instance, the contracts that our staff have
Mhm.
with the village
Okay.
and what those percentage of increases were. I also kind of wonder, have they not been presented with new contracts? Or is that not something on the table? And then all the background on how the numbers are, the salaries are figured relative to, competitive markets.
I think that's,
I think I have, because every year, I'm sorry to interrupt, every year the Clerks Association, they do a compensation study. They never want to list me, because I'm the lowest paid. The neighboring cities make 120,000. You can public request that. So they always tell me, don't feel insulted. And I'm like, I'm not, I'm not. But they never want to. They're like, we'll just put you to the side. So based on what councilperson, I concur. So I left for a little bit, and they advertised the position for $50,000. The people that you would have applying, I have nothing against McDonald's employees, Ross employees,
Target clerks.
Those were the people that were applying for the position, and I have nothing against them. It's just that the specific position I hold, it's the one that brings in from the council with the residents. That's, you've put in public requests, I've tried to answer it to the best of my ability, but that's not the only thing we do here. And as a clerk, I do things that other clerks don't even do either, because we're small,
We
so
don't
we
have the
know we
staff.
wear all different kind of hats. So what I make is what a deputy clerk makes at other locations.
And what is the association? I can find what they report.
Florida clerks.
Florida clerks, okay.
And you're also certified. You're
And also I was certified too, so I became certified.
And
yeah,
that's-
you're being modest, but this is specialized work.
This is specialized.
So when you read the job description, it seems like, okay, I could do that. But there are so many deadlines and specialized pieces that if the clerk doesn't do what she's supposed to do, like, we're not.
We're out.
Everything that we're doing up here is like null and void. So also, I urge you also to like pick up that phone and call Miami Shores. And I mean, or look at their budget. I mean, it's listed in there, like what their top level administrative staff is making. Don't take our word for it. Do your due diligence,
I
but
would
also.
say all those other cities are so much larger as well. I mean, we're really tiny.
Yeah, but
so
even the
there's-
city next door, she started, actually, I've been here, like I said, almost 8 years. She started a year ago, and she makes almost the same thing I do.
Right, in a
And
larger,
she's only been there a year.
in a larger city, is gonna have a clerk's office with staff.
I was
which we don't
just
have.
going to say that what we do, and all of us here, but what we do on a daily basis, Madam Manager, Madam Clerk, we do things like, I do things you'll never see no other mayor in Miami-Dade County do the type of stuff that I do. Walk around their own flyers, do this, do that. No other mayor in Miami-Dade County is doing that. No other clerk does the type of stuff no other manager does this type of stuff, because we don't have the staff. Every other place that you're saying is bigger, go into their clerk's office, look at the deputy clerk, then the assistant to the deputy clerk. You know what I mean? Assistant manager, the assistant to the assistant manager. So they do so much less than what our clerk does other places. They do so much less than what our manager does. They do so much less than what the mayor does in other places.
I have a,
No, I'm sorry. It's part of clarification here, because that's not what, so these numbers, 68, 640, is reflecting here, it's just an estimate. It's not like the clerk is going full-time and actually getting a salary increase to 68,000.
That,
She's still remaining a part-time
Yeah.
employee.
That's another thing. I'm the only
Right.
part-time clerk. So I do what everybody else does on, part-time. But obviously, it's not only part-time, because I'm here to begin with, we're one of the ones that have the most meetings. And I appreciate you coming and questioning, because that also puts in perspective where I'm at. So, like I said before, we're one of the ones that have a lot of meetings. For a small municipality, there's a lot of work that gets done here. I've been to because I like to see what's going on in other places. I've been to other meetings. I talked to a lot of clerks and the surrounding cities around us. So I didn't input that number, and I like anybody else looking at it, I was like 36. I'm like, I didn't ask for a raise, or I haven't gotten a raise, and so I was surprised myself. Then I came to the conclusion that What happens is, since he's brand new, he projected that I was gonna be here, but I haven't gotten an increase. It's just my salary projected full-time hours, which they fluctuate, because obviously when I'm here in a whole month, 4 nights, like we are tonight, that's going on that kind of.
Got it. Understood. I appreciate all the context everyone's been given. It's been really helpful. I would just still request for more transparency and maybe even a development of, a rubric or a codified system of how raises actually happen.
Okay.
I mean, the village has been around, 90 years?
No.
And
All
this
right,
is where we're at.
I need,
so.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a comment to the council. It addresses specifically what the resident is raising.
Thanks, Mr.
So, yes, this particular council works very well together. We've made a lot of progress, have done incredible things in a short period of time. One area that is desperately needing improvement from this council, that is lacking severely, is we are not performing annual reviews of our chartered positions. The manager, the attorney, the clerk. Annual reviews of the chartered positions, which I believe is possibly a requirement, which we have not been doing, is, in my opinion, the concern the resident has highlights the need for this. Because my opinion is that, yes, we do have a top 1% clerk, without a doubt. I absolutely could never have been even remotely considered successful or feeling like I'm doing anything positive in this position without the clerk's help. And so the truth is, no one cares about my opinion. So my opinion can be that we have a 1% clerk, but really, who cares? Nobody cares about my opinion. And so the truth of the matter is that there does need to be a rubric, and we actually have that standard in place. We're just not using it. So my message to this council is that that should become a priority, because it's not fair to the manager, to the attorney, or the clerk. And then additionally, it's not fair to the residents when they're like, let's have some clarity into some reasoning behind these judgments. So
I completely agree.
Yeah, thank you very
I think
much.
we should be doing that. Kudos to you, Vice Mayor Urban.
Absolutely, Vice Mayor Urban and Councilperson Martin. Let me just say for the record that that's what's going to happen, because if you guys, remember, what she said with this 53,000, that was 8 years, right? So her contract hasn't come before us to even discuss that in 8 years, and that's the reason why it's remained to where it is.
largely
So
because we
when
haven't had a review process.
so when we have the review, then it'll be adjusted. Now, Vice Mayor Urban might remember this, but because previously, Madam Clerk, we were trying to get everything on point with that. There was a previous council person who used to be on the council back then, and she messed everything up when it came to us trying to do a process that was a fair process.
Oh, yeah.
She wanted to keep it at 50.
That councilwoman,
Oh, okay.
who was previously on here just now, not the mayor, but that councilwoman, right? And so, again, we got to clean up all of this and
No,
do
that's
things
important.
the right way.
It's incredibly important.
And so that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right? Anybody else? Page 7.
Move to page 8, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Page 8, Public Affairs. Any questions, comments?
Well, as the chair of this committee, thank you for not raising that amount.
No problem. Sounds
Promotional
good.
activities are different, and you all saw what I proposed, and
Sounds good.
it may not even require that, but thank you so much for your support and my understanding of what public affairs really is.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody on page, where we at, 9? This is the police.
Okay.
I'll give you guys some time to look over.
While everyone's looking around, I will just mention that the reason for regular salaries is that we are finally at very close to being fully staffed, whereas previously we were critically understaffed. So
Absolutely, Vice Mayor Urban, very good. Thank you for that.
Mr. Mayor, I'm
Yep.
looking at off-duty detail. It's already been explained how we get that done. I think it was said you talked about off-duty, Mr. Budget.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that speaks for itself, since he's already said we don't get the money until we get the money, that type
Mhm.
of thing. The other one is, I'm just going down the line with the salary, with the repair and maintenance. It seems that we still don't have it under control yet, or is this pocket money just in case things start breaking down? That's a question for the manager. It says repair and maintenance, and I'm not real sure what that is in the police service. What is that?
Harry, repair and maintenance, that has to do with, I know there's some car washing in there, and there's some other items in there. CFO Topperfield, if you want to
So
jump in.
we're talking about fleet more than we talking about, people are talking
Well,
about fleet.
the maintenance, it's maintenance for the new fleet through Enterprise. We have the Enterprise offers a maintenance program.
It should say enterprise next to it. maybe.
So that's where a good portion of that money is being spent.
Okay, so this is like the warranty on the vehicles.
I would say just maintenance, not warranty.
But we have a
Okay.
line item that says repair and maintenance of vehicles.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's because remember, go ahead.
That's the line item that's the line item I'm referring to. The repair and
Okay,
maintenance
so
I'm
vehicles.
not- I'm
Repair and
not-
maintenance would just be anything that's within the police department, anything that they need to fix within their little, I guess, office space area.
All right, I understand that. Now, if I may continue forthwith, I'm noticing uniform and cleaning. The budget adopted 6,200 now that we're fully staffed. The percentage is increased because of the fully staffed or because expenses as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It's because we're fully staffed, and it's because of, we're gonna remain fully staffed, and being fully staffed, one of the things that, we will have to do is help the officers with their, buying the uniforms and also, getting them clean.
In that, if I may,
Go ahead.
in that amount, I just think it's a
There's also-
tremendously different
There's
number.
also a lot of turnover. This past year, there's also a lot of turnover, so every time we're hiring
We
a
had
new
to buy
police
a new-
officer, we have to buy a whole new set, whether it's from soup to nuts.
And
boots
we're
to hat.
anticipating that turnover continuing, or?
I'm not anticipating it, but again, I'm hoping that it's not going to happen, but I guess,
Okay.
yes, with that
They're
number.
just being
I'm-
cautious.
Yes.
Remember, I told you, a lot of
I'm
this
a
stuff, you
very
guys, is better safe than sorry.
Okay.
I'd rather be cautious and overestimate than not have enough down the road.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is better safe than sorry. That's how we were looking at it. When we started putting the budget together, we were looking at a lot of things better safe than sorry. And if you guys wanted to decline, like lower things than you can, but we wanted to make it so that we wanted to give you guys a lot of worst case scenarios, better safe than sorry. If we get to that, half of the year through, or the end of next year when we do the budget again, I would rather see a bunch of surpluses, a bunch of, we didn't even use that. That way we know, because you guys got to remember, the reason why it's like this time, and it won't be like this, next time and any other year after this, is because we are in the crux of the cleanup. We are in the crux of setting everything right. So after this year, once the real numbers come back at the end of this fiscal year that we're doing right now, the end of fiscal year 2023, once the real numbers come back, then we'll know for next year exactly where we stand on everything. But right now, you guys, we're in this period where we're in that cleanup phase, so everything's kind of in flux. So we don't know the hard exact numbers of what everything is going to take.
Okay.
But I didn't want to under budget,
Okay. I see you. I have another question, if I may.
Go ahead, Nika.
On the machinery and equipment line item, year-to-date, we spent $148,000. What was the machinery or equipment?
Okay, so if I can, a lot of that right there, you guys, is funding. If you guys remember, a lot of the stuff with the equipment and machinery, that's the stuff that, remember all those resolutions when we
Yeah.
were getting the funding and stuff? So when that money comes in and is allocated, then it'll come off of that.
Okay.
All right? So a lot of that's funding.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot.
Mr. Mayor, I'm looking here, and this is my last comment on this. Line item 52,521,6400, rentals and leases. Rental and leases.
Mhm.
You see it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at the previous years, and there was a whole lot more than what's here. What is that? What are we renting? What are we leasing continuously? What are we doing?
We are leasing the parking that's right here on the side of the building. That's a lease that we paid, and, well, we have not been paying regularly in the past, but we will be paying and continuing with that lease so that we have the parking that's needed for the police do. That's from the railroad that we're renting that parking. That's not open house. That is property of the railroad.
That's right. And they're allowing that?
Yeah, for a fee.
I mean, we're paying for it.
Yeah, we have to pay for it. We're leasing that for them to utilize that.
Okay, because, you know, railroads are different in terms of governmental whatever. You know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have to be so many feet off that railroad. So all of that's been taken care of, because if you're telling me what I didn't know, I didn't know. If you tell me what I didn't know, we're in there right away.
That's right.
That's not good.
No, that's approved because it's a certain distance, but we keep our police vehicles there so that nothing else is utilized in that area.
I think she's saying that's not good because it's not guaranteed into the future.
Yeah.
It's
So
a-
is that what
That was-
you're?
That's what I'm getting at, because
Safety or guarantee? Yeah. I understand, and we will utilize the parking, I mean, you see, we're very,
Quickest way to put
slim
somebody out of
pickings
business
for
is through a
parking, so we
landlord.
wanted to haul out all of the old cars so that our staff can at least park here, so that residents and people who take the shuttle can park on the side of the building. So we're just trying to minimize our parking, you know, our footprint, and I understand that that may not be there in the future, but for now, it's there, and we'll utilize it.
okay, because I know a lot about railroads, and that distance from that is not good. So we need to, council, we need to be looking at alternatives, because that is close to that railroad. If a hazard happened right then, it's coming this way. If it's on this side, it's coming this way. So, okay, for now.
All right. Let me just say a quick great thing about the railroad. El Portal, you guys, we are one of the only municipalities that actually fought, and we got that horn to be silent when it comes past.
That's right.
There's not many municipalities that had that happen.
That's right.
And for us to be so small and get that type of respect, that shows we
That
have good
speaks.
outreach. All right? All
That
right.
speaks volumes.
All right, you
Railroad
guys,
got
keep
it.
that in
That
mind.
speaks volumes. It does.
We're like the little internet could.
All right, I've got a few questions I can put into one if
Go ahead.
that's all right.
While you come up, you can come up while he's asking.
Come on.
Go ahead.
Yeah, by all means.
Go. Oh, okay.
He can go first. Yeah, that's fine.
Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. I'm actually surprised the salary of the police chief so much lower, like half that, and it's actually a decline. It's like half that of the village manager, and then it's in decline, negative 4.76%. What's up with that?
Yeah, you can.
Our police chief is new to the position.
Harry.
Hold on, for this one, would you
Harry,
take
turn,
his
Harry,
microphone?
turn your microphone on
Yeah,
when she
take-
speaks, and maybe like her voice will be able to carry.
Yeah, there
in.
you go.
So our police chief is new to the position. And so the 78 was for a former police chief who had
That's right.
received an increase during his tenure here, but he retired. So now we are starting afresh with the new chief. And as time goes on, we will see some change, but he's within his first year, so we aren't doing an increase at this point.
Got it. Thank you. But I'm still shocked. Like, is that competitive with the market? We're able to get good police chief at this salary?
We were
Miami?
lucky. We were lucky in the sense that our police chief was our former lieutenant.
Okay.
So when our police chief retired, our lieutenant simply moved up into the police chief position. So,
And they're qualified for the job?
absolutely.
Very much
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
But I think it's more the person, it's another thing we'll have to review, because you're right, that's not competitive if it was someone different or new, but we haven't.
Okay. Yeah, that number seems really low for chief of police. And then for the regular salaries, how many individuals does that account for? Okay. Thank you. And then I had a question on, just kind of a general question, but related to the sick pay. So nothing was in the budget, but then 31,000 was paid out. How does it work if, like, how can money get paid out if it wasn't in the budget? How does that work for the village?
A big portion of that was the PTO cash out for the previous police chief. So that's not something that
Okay.
gets budgeted.
Okay.
That's just the one-time thing. And the officers also get to cash their PTO when they leave.
And we're also currently in negotiations, with the new police union. And so, a lot of that stuff we'll be figuring out, as we go on too, so.
Okay, and what's the process? Is there just a miscellaneous fund in the overall budget that money comes from? Or how does it, if it's not actually budgeted, how does that money then actually leave our coffers and go there?
Yeah, that will come through the contingency, or reserves, that's how that will come.
But I mean, how does that authorization, is what I'm asking, come about?
Well, I authorize it comes from, so per our charter and things, that the manager is the head of administration.
Okay.
And so anything that falls under administration, which the police department falls under administration, that falls under, they're her employees essentially. Just because we have a manager, run.
So just at the
village.
manager's discretion,
So it's at the manager's
the
discretion.
money gets authorized?
And then if it's
Got
over a
it.
certain
Okay.
dollar, if it's over a certain dollar amount, she would require approval from the council.
Do you know what the dollar?
It's $5,000.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it depends on.
okay, that's all. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, so my questions were along the same lines because, Mr. CFO, I am not a nervous person. However, I do have generalized anxiety disorder. But, when we see things like a vacation pay with no budget and then an allocation, but almost more concerning for me is when I see, for example, under bullets and vests, we have the 2,400 budgeted. There's nothing listed for year to date. And then the department requests the same, it makes sense it'd be the same next year, although we don't see any numbers for this year. So in the past, when we've gone through these budget hearings, there have been innumerable examples of when the answer is, oh, well, almost no answer, right? And so, so on these spots where the year-to-date is blank, could you, like education and training, like I know we've been educating and training our officers, things like that. Could you speak to just a little bit of why it is that we would not see a year-to-date total?
But without speaking to them specifically about the individual line items, it's strictly hearsay at this point. So what I will say to you, it could be one of two things.
Yes.
One, it hasn't been spent yet, right? Remember, these numbers are only through July. So again, maybe the chief makes his purchase in August, September time. I don't know. That's number one. Number two, I would also maybe call it a little bit of a learning curve, right? Me being new, right, I may account for things a little bit different, not specifically bullets and vests, but, I may account something for it a little bit differently than maybe my predecessor may have accounted for a particular line item. So I'll go to what the mayor was saying earlier as far as cleaning up. Part of what I've been doing also, obviously, which I'm sure all you guys know, is a lot of cleanup. So it's kind of letting things, and making certain assumptions along the way, and trying to make sure that going forward, everything is done properly, and then you will have everything, in its proper place.
Very good. Yeah, and I do want to say that I very much appreciate you being here. I understand that you've put your reputation on the line before for other municipalities, and I'm sure that you're aware each day that your reputation is on the line here as well. So,
Absolutely.
I do want to say in that comment that I do very much appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
Let me just say, for the record, you guys, very, very quickly, for a lot of things, bullets, vests, ammo, all that type of stuff, the clerk's going to kill me right now, but but I already have the vast majority of those resolutions coming.
Okay.
All right? I already have the vast majority of those resolutions coming, so all of that will be coming out of funding It will be coming out of funding.
Yeah,
It's
and-
not going to be coming out of our out of our budget coffers.
You know that
Okay.
a lot of what I say is honestly, I try to get things on the record as much as possible
course.
for the benefits of the residents, especially
Of
in
course.
our YouTube
So I'm
channel
glad
rocks.
I'm glad you did that. I'm
But
glad you
yeah,
did that.
so
Yeah, so when you see things like that, the equipment, like Councilperson Martin was saying before, equipment, bullets, vests, things like that, it's going to come from funding that we're going to get, you guys. All right, so don't worry about that. It's not coming out the budget. Anybody else on page 9?
10, please.
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward.
I said 10, please.
Okay, yes. Moving on to 10. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to look over this. Any questions, just let me know.
on this, the first comment I have is also for public record, and that
Mhm.
is just for the benefit of the residents to know that the reason the year-to-date in the code enforcement officer, essentially salary, is so far under what was adopted is because for most of this fiscal year, we did not have a code enforcement officer.
Yeah, we didn't have.
And now that we do, we certainly, we have a great code enforcement officer who's in a position to stay with us for a while. So the requested amount is to ensure that we would be able to retain a great employee.
Didn't have. That's another cleanup we're doing. All right, you guys.
So we have, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilperson Lightfoot
we
Ward.
have postage.
No, we have a new one now. We do have one now in place. He's very, very good. You guys will probably meet him next council meeting. We'll make sure we bring him in. But Fitz is very, very good. Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot.
No, that's not my question.
Oh, what's the question?
Postage.
Oh, postage. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead,
Because we have
Madam
a new,
Manager.
Code enforcement officer, and, you know, we're behind on so many things, special master items, you know, all those things. We've got to send out more certified letters, and so we're doing that now. So we're gonna need the postage. It may even be more than this, but we're feeling safe with this number for the month.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of things coming up including short-term vacation rental, you know, so that's gonna require a lot more follow-through in terms of the certified letters and postage.
Again, this is more cleanup, Madam Manager.
Correct.
And you know, like I said before, the whatever council comes after us, after we're all gone, you guys, from these seats, whatever council comes after us, they owe us a party.
Yeah.
Because how we're cleaning up everything for them. Everything from them is going to be a piece of cake. Anybody else for page 10?
I want to ask one question about, it's a kudo more than anything.
Absolutely.
It's a negative. Workers' compensation, we have a safety program, obviously, yes.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Councilperson Lightfoot. I appreciate that. Anybody else, page 10?
Just one final comment,
Go ahead.
and that
Vice
is,
Mayor Urban.
again, back to the first line item there. We've had previously 2, even 3 really great code enforcement officers as well. We were not able to retain them. And so they individually helped us make significant steps into the future, and we would have loved to have had any of them stay. We were not able to retain them, and so we certainly hope that we think we got a strategy and a plan to be able to retain our current fantastic code enforcement officer.
Very good. Page 11, you guys.
11.
Give you guys some time to look over that.
Cost of living in the first one is anticipated, yes?
So the first one, regular salaries.
Yes,
Yes, that's, what was your question?
cost of living. Why is it
No,
high?
oh, no,
and
it's-
what's this 81?
So that right there is
Uh-huh.
part of the resolution that we did. That's not coming from
Oh,
any
yeah.
taxpayer dollars. That comes from federal funding that we received. That's where that's coming from, you guys. And that's part of, when we did the agreement to bring in cap government with the building, and we outsourced the building department, front desk, and we outsourced our public works department.
So should regular salaries have something like what you just said as an explanation that this is not?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
what,
it could-
a summary type, I think that's what Councilperson Martin was talking about. We need to do maybe a separate sheet apart from this, because I don't know if you can fit all that into this, but we need to do a separate sheet,
Well,
I think that would be helpful.
yeah.
Mr. CFO, would it be appropriate to have 2 line items where it says one regular salaries, general funds, and the other regular salaries,
Funding,
funding or grant, cap?
Federal
Yeah.
funding.
federal funding.
you tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, would that solve anything or simplify anything? Would there
Not
be?
really. I mean,
Okay,
not really.
okay.
But we need to know what it is when we're asked, because regular salaries, and I'm looking over here, 215%. And the mayor just said, you know, we're talking about federal money too. So, break it out, put it together, one way or another. It has to be something that we, even the person that's looking at it can say, oh, I see.
I'll put a footnote on the sheet.
Thank you.
And maybe you know, because we meet pretty often, you know, the three of us, CFO, Tuberfield, and Madam Manager. Maybe what we can do, I'll look through, because I've kind of made, you know, notes on everything that, you know, was kind of confusing to people. And maybe we could do like a separate summary sheet or something like that. You know,
And
one
again,
paragraph.
and I'm sorry, and again, that contract gave us two employees,
Yes,
that we didn't have before,
Mhm.
ever in the history, I guess, in the history of
Absolutely.
El Portal.
Absolutely.
So we got one, a salary, including retirement and everything, all the benefits.
Absolutely.
Totaling about $50,000 to now getting an engineer and a
Absolutely.
worker, public works staffer for
Absolutely.
81,000. So
Absolutely.
that'll actually.
Extremely good point, Councilperson Perrella. That is for two professional
Professional.
employees.
there you go.
We outsourced our front desk and we outsourced our public works department to an outside professional company. That's for a public works engineer that, Madam Manager, do you remember the days when every grant, every piece of funding was all on your head? And now we used to be in the meetings. We used to be in the meetings every night, right? We used to be in the meetings. We used to be writing them up late at night. Now at least we have somebody who's an expert who can help out with those things. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So we
Wonderful.
definitely. So that's for two individuals, you guys. Absolutely. Anybody else for page 11?
I have a question about
Okay.
the repair and maintenance on Village Hall. What do we spend the 32,000 on?
Oh, yeah.
That was also.
The AC?
Certain things like the air conditioning units,
The AC broke twice. Remember
right,
that?
it's
Yeah.
broke a couple of times, and we're waiting, a state, we got a federal HUD grant to replace it, but we haven't gotten all of the engineering items done before we get to that part, so we have had to repair that twice.
Okay,
in the
but
past,
we're coming up with a plan where it's not just Band-Aids, right?
Oh,
'Cause
right,
I-
that's why
oh,
we've got the federal funding to repair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we also have a lot of milestones to meet before we can get those monies in hand.
Yeah,
We're
we're-
also getting a generator and some other things, but until we can get everything crossed off the list, we won't be able to do that. In the meantime, I could not function without the air conditioning.
Oh, of course, we couldn't function either. That was,
This
It
those were rough
was-
meetings.
And
This is Florida.
we are working towards funding for a 100% Village Hall redo. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, from
Yeah.
Yeah.
foundation to
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's my point,
So-
is that we can continue to kind of piecemeal this thing or really think about how to make this a place that is functional for the long term, which I think is
Well, I think
a
we even-
worthwhile spend.
We even have an ask.
We do 900,000.
Coming up with we have an ask out of Tallahassee for
try,
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, we're definitely making significant efforts to completely
Yeah.
remodel from top to bottom
Absolutely.
for once and for all.
And
the
and
Village
so
Hall.
and so this is Vice Mayor
I'm
Urban.
still upset we lost the sanctuary, but it's all right.
Vice,
Maybe blessings and curses. That
Mr.
looks
Mayor.
like it could have cost us more to get. What if
Mr.
it's
Mayor.
just such a good location?
Before we tear this beautiful structure down,
we'll never tear it down.
all right, because I've been looking at historical properties
Yeah,
in the village, and we got one right here, Village Hall.
we definitely do.
We got this.
We definitely do. Very good, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward. Absolutely. Mr. Pulliam, name and address for the record.
Thomas Pulliam, 205 Northeast 86th Street. I just had a couple questions. The third to the last one, transfer out MO or MOE, what does that stand for? What is
Hair.
that?
That's a transfer out to one of the other special revenue funds that the town has. I believe it's the transportation, hold on a second.
Says MOE.
And none of that was
It's-
paid, so is that no longer relevant?
It's a transfer to, last year they budgeted a transfer to the CITT fund. It's a special revenue fund that the village has. So we're not forecasting that, to do that this year.
Okay, got it. And then the contingencies, I'm just curious, how come what's been spent is so much lower than what was budgeted?
Yeah, so nothing was necessarily spent. I don't know, Harry, like, you want to jump in? Nothing was necessarily spent. So what happened was our previous CFO, he put the wrong so basically that came from another part of the budget. He had messed up the budget and put the wrong amount in different areas in the budget. So when we were going through the budget, we were like, this doesn't make any sense. This shouldn't even be. So we kept pulling money out from places that the numbers didn't add up. So for example, let's say if it was like, say, police department or something like that. And then we would see it and we'd be like, well, damn, this is like way over. Like, where is this? Why is it's not adding up the right way? So we would go through it and then we started to realize, oh, well, this shouldn't even be here. We need to pull this out. And so when we did that, it built up the contingencies, but it built it up in a way to where when we went back and looked at the budget and started to put things in the right places under the right departments, it started to even out to what you see here.
Got it. So that like that 100 grand is basically reallocated.
That's basically what it is,
throughout.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pulliam. Let me just say for the record, you guys, when you see like the regular salaries that we went through with the 2 workers,
Yes.
and also when you see like the repair and maintenance village hall, we're talking about we're going to get that, probably that funding, that federal funding, you know, and things like that or whatever. So and that's another thing I want you guys to keep in mind when I was saying that we're, you know, we want to do this to project the worst case scenario and things like that. This even shows that, because if I wanted to project what is probably actually going to, like the actuality of it, that 81.9 is not coming from the budget. That's coming from federal funding. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But I didn't want to keep it off. I'd rather us look at it and I'd rather it look worse than it really is to us. You know what I mean? So that we're not under, you know, we're not looking at it and we're not thinking that it's better than it actually is. I'd rather be way more safe than sorry.
I
Okay?
hear you. I hear you.
Way more safe than sorry. But a lot of this stuff is going to be federal funding. It's not even going to come out the budget. Everybody good with page 11? We going to page 12?
Yes.
All right. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to look at it. The building permits, that very first one, that's also capped. And you guys understand the building permits, the way the contract works, it's a wash. It's kind of like how we were talking about the off-duty detail for the police department. With cap, it's a wash. What comes in is washed out, and that's how
That's
that
right.
works.
This
So we
is-
don't lose anything.
This is a self-sufficient
Absolutely.
fund in every city.
Couldn't have said it worse.
Revenues
I mean,
take
couldn't have said it better,
pay the
Councilperson
expenses.
Lightfoot
That's right.
Ward. Couldn't have said it better.
Very good.
Very good. This is a great council, you guys. How often do I say that? All the time. I really mean it.
Same thing with the transportation revenues coming off of the gas tax.
Oh, well, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, you're the expert when it comes to
I am
that.
the
You know how
expert
that
when it comes
goes.
to this one, and listen, you all have made us proud. I served on that board for that council, that trust for 15 years, and when they got to El Patel, it's like, they always say they never have to worry about us.
That's right.
So you're keeping it alive, Mr. Budget Man.
And Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, if you remember when you retired, I was there.
Yeah,
I was
wouldn't have
right
it
there.
any other way.
That's right. You
Yeah,
know,
they
I'm always
didn't
there.
want me to retire, but I can't be here and be there too.
That's right. And I was right there when you retired. I
Sure did.
appreciate that. Wouldn't have been anywhere else. I was honored to be there.
So does that take us to page 15? Since we
Yeah, we're
already
good.
just
Page
talked about CITT and it
12,
lines
we're
up.
going to 13 right now, Councilperson Lightfoot Ward, just in case anybody has transportation fund revenue questions. This is pretty straightforward. though.
Balances itself.
No problem.
$14?
Yeah, 13, 14. The rest of the budget, you guys, is pretty much the general stuff. It's not like it's like the stuff we don't control in a way.
That's right. That's exactly.
It's all restricted.
It's all the, yeah, so 13, 14, I mean, any questions?
The only question I have of this one, Mr. Mayor, is since that Is this the same as the water project, water and sewer project that's gonna line up with stormwater?
Where are we looking at, 13?
I'm at 15.
Where are we looking, Councilperson? Oh, at 15, the
Mhm.
stormwater?
Let's talk about this.
Because you know, that's right on the horizon.
Absolutely.
The stormwater, and the one that we're talking about, the water drainage system or something that I fixed, you all have heard about it.
Absolutely.
Is there a correlation in this, this figure of a fund that basically pays for itself? Or we not to be overly concerned about that at this time?
No, you talking about the wastewater, septic
Yes,
sewer?
yes.
You can jump in, Harry, but septic sewer is not the stormwater.
I know it's not, but I'm saying, is there gonna be a problem as we move forward?
Mhm.
Stormwater is just that, and septic to sewer
Mhm.
has an impact,
Absolutely.
okay? So I'm just trying to see things in a broader sense, and if this is what's happening, we need to keep our eyes on the future, because it's coming this way, right? Straight up Third Avenue. It's from no, not Third, that's Second Avenue, it's coming straight up at us. We're ideally suited, and I just don't wanna misunderstand, or somebody says, why didn't you all think of this the first time? We couldn't have thought about it, because we don't have anything like it, but it's coming,
Do we
and it
anticipate,
will affect stormwater.
do we anticipate any funds or otherwise in terms of movement on septic to sewer in the next fiscal year?
We anticipate, I mean, we always go for different things. You never know what's gonna come through and when, right? We signed the contract, Madam Manager, last Monday. We signed the contract to put the pumping station. We signed that contract, so that's gonna we're gonna start to pretty much break ground pretty soon, you guys.
So we will need,
There it
Okay,
is.
with on the south, west
right.
end of the school.
Right up, right
Signed
in
that
front of
contract with Miami-Dade County Public Schools, so that's gonna be, moving forward.
so having a line item in place might be necessary.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah. So maybe we'll have a wastewater, we could start a wastewater page if we want to. But, because all that will be, anything subject to sewer is gonna be either funding, that we're gonna receive, or it's going to be things that's gonna be done like like that great deal we're making with the,
We could always
we'll
ask
keep that to
DPNO.
ourselves.
Nightmares, leave the
We'll keep that to
nightmares.
ourselves for now,
We could
right?
always ask
The
DPNO
Northeast,
for the money.
the Northeast second great deal that we're putting together,
Do you
so.
hear me?
What's up?
We can always ask DPNO for the money.
Exactly, exactly.
Turning red or brown?
But yeah, we'll definitely do that. Councilperson Lightfoot Ward will definitely do a page for wastewater just to prepare for the
Alright,
future. Thank you
very
very much for that. Very good point.
And the last page is 16, or am I just one step?
We
We
have a
got one
16 and we
more.
have a 17, and that's it. 16, 17, 18. So,
Self-sufficient fund control point, thank you.
As we get close to the end here, Mr. CFO, I again do want to say, my comments earlier certainly were not directed at you, only really for the benefit of the public. And I have to say that this has been the most clearly presented budget that we've seen in a long time, and I certainly want to give you credit for that, manager as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's been I don't know if it's been real. It's been fun. I don't know if it's been real fun, but but it has been much easier going with a lot less drama than's taken place in the past, and certainly both of you sitting there deserve a lot of credit for that. So thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the
Yes.
last two pages are kind of like the first two.
yes,
The previous two.
absolutely.
I think this kind of information ought to be at the front instead of at the back.
and-
You know, 'cause it's just balancing
It's
out.
yeah.
That's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Any last questions or comments, you guys? We're good?
Yes, we're good. This was an excellent, compared to the last process, or it kind of felt like we were like perpetually chasing our tails and trying to wonder like what's going on. This was really good, so thank you so much to the manager, Mr. CFO. We appreciate you guys.
Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, you guys. All right, we're moving on to the last good and welfare. This is the time right now where anybody can come up and talk about anything at all. Anything at all in your mind. Here we go. Going once, going twice. So, all right, you guys, we appreciate it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Motion moved by Councilperson Life Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Martin. How many times do I have to say I love this council? It's a great council, greatest council I've ever been on. Do all in favor say aye?
Aye.
All opposed say nay. I'm hearing none. The Village of El Portal Budget Workshop is adjourned at 9:09 p.m.